Hi, Navid. My name is Daljeet. I am co-director of Auroville Film Festival. On behalf of Auroville Film Festival, I welcome you to meet the director conversation.
Hello, Daldri. It's really, really good to be here. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having my film as well.
Yes, Navid, congratulations for the beautiful poetic movie, A Letter from India. I think we all are loving it. It's such a touching film that uh, like it can't go without notice it. Like it's in a short but very powerful.
Thanks so much. I think it's a testament to the people of Matancheri, honestly,
Yes.
because I think just the once you sort of discover them a little bit more, you start to understand the intricacies with which they live together in such a
Yes,
small
yes,
space.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
that was motivation enough to do this film.
Hmm. So I was deeply moved by the film, and you were able to deliver a human unity message with so much simplicity. What inspired you to make this film so much relevant to our times?
I think exactly what you just said. I mean, the relevance to our times, because I grew up in India, and diversity was so. I mean, we took it for granted in a sense that we were all surrounded by diversity, but we never really paid any attention to it. So
Yes.
when I went to this place in Matancheri, and when someone mentioned to me, the photographer who we followed, and he mentioned to us about just the number 39 communities in a 5 square kilometer radius, in itself was sort of surprising. And right in our
Yeah.
backyard, it was very
Yeah.
surprising, and it was something that I wanted to capture and showcase to uh, just to sort of tell their stories. So it
Yes.
was
Yes.
it was
It's
just
a
the
it's a best example to put out. Uh,
right, exactly, and they
yes.
have been
Yes.
in existence for over 500 years. So
Mm,
they have stood through many different waves of time and many different
yeah.
waves of
Yes. Yes.
colonialism, all sorts of things, all sorts of rulers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they have survived and
Yes.
thrived. So it was, I think, a great example. In today's time, like you said, it was, I think, important to talk about it again, to sort of shed
Yes.
light on that again.
Yes. 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 So it must be challenging to document the lives of 39 communities living there. And Biju Ibrahim's amazing photography and your poetic visual bring the film to life. Uh, uh, these are families that have lived peacefully in Matanjari for generations. As a director, what do you think is the reason this place has helped sustain such diversity over decades?
I think it's a very curious question, because it was something that we also asked ourselves. What is it that makes them stay? Because
Together.
especially after India was formed as a nation in
Yeah.
1947, a lot of such communities around India moved away, like they separated into their own spaces. But Matancheri has stayed firm, because I feel, and after closer inspection and spending a lot of time there, we realize that their ways of life, their everyday life, is so intertwined. So it is very hard to separate them,
Mm.
which is why we chose also to shoot the film in black and white. Because when you go there and you see that, you can't make out the differences in plain sight. Much like in Auroville, if someone just
Mm.
walks by a street in Auroville, I can't tell what the diversity is, how many countries people have come here
Yes,
from, how
yes,
many
yes.
communities people have come here from. So I wanted to showcase that sort of unity. So that's why we use black and white to showcase that. And
Mm.
we also realized that it was the everyday lives that they somehow connected. So there was no sense of the other, that their food, their music, the way the parts they take to their places of worship, everything intertwined
Yes, yes, yes.
effortlessly.
I have a question for you on the food also, but before that, like, Uh, as a filmmaker, do you think there is a lack of diverse representation in the film industry, be it regional or mainstream cinema, in our
Yes,
current? Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I think we have sort of standardized
Mm,
what film should, how film should be spoken, or how film should be shown. But
mm,
it's these a lot of regional voices are waiting to be heard, and a lot of them are waiting to be told. So even
mm,
though, even in terms of traditionally, even the voiceover that we used, I mean, Biju was not too comfortable with English.
mm.
So we used a voiceover who sort of best represented Biju's voice. So it
Yeah.
is a heavily accented Mallu accent, which I
And
used
very
purposely because
soft,
it's
and very soft as
yes,
the personality Biju has. Like,
right, right, and
yeah, it was,
so
yeah,
we took a lot of time to find that voice because
yeah,
usually that accent is caricaturized.
yeah.
The
Mm,
Mallu English accent, the regional Indian accents speaking English are caricaturized, they're made fun of. But I wanted to show that in a different light, because these are the languages we speak are so intricate that
yes.
English is only a second language. It's only a third language, or for some people, the fourth language. So,
True, true.
so we wanted to not only bring out regional voices, but also reach even the accents were intentionally regional, and
Yeah,
so we want,
yeah.
yeah.
So you must have spent considerable amount of time filming this Matanchari, which can be sensed by the level of comfort seeing in people's faces in front of camera. And there is a sense of kinship and harmony throughout the narrative. Uh, how would you describe your experience of forging such relationship while filming A Letter from India?
I think it was an incredible experience because they were so open and they were so welcoming, and every time. But the most surprising part was I feel like they themselves have forgotten how diverse their community is.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you would, as an outsider, come and sort of reveal to them, okay, we're doing this community, we're going to this community, we're talking to this person, and there are 39 communities. They know this already, it's part of them, but to hear it again, to sort of hear it being articulated, to even see the film once it was done, was to them suddenly a realization of how diverse they were. So that was the most surprising part, that they themselves have forgotten the diversity that they live in every
Yeah.
day.
And
So that
are
was the most
they
surprising.
are they aware of the outside environment, like the country has gone through and going through? Are they aware, or they are living in a utopia kind of place?
I mean, they are aware because it's sort of it is creeping in as
Hmm.
as in waves, and I'm sure it
Hmm.
has over time. Whenever there has
Hmm.
been a major
Hmm.
world event or a major Indian event, they have
Hmm.
felt it, but I think they have weathered it because, like I said, that every days are so intertwined that
Yeah. Yeah.
even in terms of the favorite, that papadam that
Yes.
we all
Yes. Yes.
enjoyed, everyone has it. It doesn't matter what community, but it comes from one community particularly who are
Yeah.
famous
Yeah.
for it. So it
Yeah.
was just interesting that you might have whispers or thoughts of whatever's happening outside, but you are reminded of the unity in every meal, in every morning prayer that someone is singing in your neighbor's house, or
Yeah.
you go buy a pair of shoes and it's some community who's doing that particular. So it's like you can't escape the unity there.
Yeah.
So no matter what the differences are put from outside,
Yeah.
they
So
are constantly reminded.
yeah, so it was very interesting to see how you use the food as a trope to reflect unity in community. Using food to bring the concept of unity in diversity was excellent. Was it intentional, or after research you realized that this could be an important part of the film?
It actually was intentional because I had done another project based on the partition, and
Okay.
there was a Bengali dish which was unique in East Bengal, in Bangladesh and in
Uh-huh.
West Bengal. It was exact same dish, but the certain textures were a little different. So in a sense,
Okay.
it was unity. There was a sense of unity, but also diversity. It was the exact same dish, but there was a sense of each place. So when I
Hmm.
experienced how powerful food is as a medium
Yes.
in terms
Yes.
of showcasing not only your own sense, but also a sense of unity with somebody else.
Hmm.
So for me, for example, I always thought that uh, you know papadam was exclusively Malayali. It was brought
Hmm.
and built in Kerala, but I was really, it was not so. It came from up the coast, and it is, so
Yeah,
it
and
is, it's
vegetable biryani, Jenny's, it
right.
was like,
Right.
it was really amazing discoveries, you know,
Right,
great.
exactly. So
Yeah.
exactly. I think food tells a very powerful story.
Yes, yes, yes.
So so it was intentional, and we were sure we will find some interesting food elements, and we did. It was the problem was on the edit table because there were a lot of communities and a lot of little stories that we couldn't include.
Yeah.
It could turn into a series, a big documentary, but we wanted to intentionally keep it crisp and sort of make it more shareable so people could sort of not be intimidated by
Yes.
a long-standing documentary, but to sort of get a sense of the place. So my
But it
films,
has it has that impact what you were intended. Let me tell you this. It is really, one feels that okay, this is the lives one should, this kind of environment one should live in.
thank you.
Uh,
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
yeah. So, as independent filmmakers, like, what are your struggles when it comes to funding such socially relevant film? I think your journey can provide some tips to aspiring filmmakers.
Yeah, it is a struggle, but there are, because of today's technology, I think it has become very easy. I mean, it's relatively easier to make minimalist film. So you don't need huge setup. You don't need a studio space. I mean, you can create. People are responding. If you give someone an audience something like Letter from India, on paper, people would tell me that, oh, I've heard the story. Diversity, yes, I know the story.
Hmm.
But we all you need, I believe, is that a really good instrument to tell the story. In this case, it
Yes.
was even Biju's thing. We figuring out how to tell the story, and then he mentioned his father, and
That is,
so we realized that that's a really personal angle, and his father
yes.
was here, and he was trying to make sense of the place himself. So it was interesting to explore that. So when I did that, people related to their families, and so it was just the vehicle in which you can tell the story. But in terms of the budgets, this film was self-funded, and we sort of did it very minimally, if you look at it, right? So we
Yes.
planned a
Yes.
lot. The shoot, we spent a whole year planning and talking and building relationships, apart from the 2 years Biju himself spent there. So, and then in the end, the shoot day was just 3 days, but we had built enough relationships, like you said, to sort of see the comfort
Yeah,
in front of the
harmony
camera.
and yes, yes, yes. I'm
So
interested, is Biju also has taken a black and white pictures, or like you have converted that and make a black and white, like,
he
hmm,
he has taken a mix of them. He has taken a mix
okay,
of black and white and color as
color.
well. So there. It is a very colorful place, as you
Yes, that
surely
I was
know.
wondering, like,
Right. So it is but it was a conscious choice to turn it into black and white
yes,
because
yes,
we
yes.
wanted to, like, if you go there, you can't make out. It
Mm,
looks like any other small town in India. It has a history. There's a sense of history, but you can't really
mm,
pull them apart, which is why I guess
mm,
they have been so successful in being unified for so long.
mm,
So we
mm.
wanted to show that visually, which is why we chose black and white.
Okay,
And some
okay.
of the color photos that he had, we did convert it, but a lot of the black and white photos we used were originally black and white also.
Very strong portraits. Very, very.
He is a wonderful photographer. Yeah.
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 Would you also like to talk about other projects that you are working on, or in short, because
Sure, sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. As an independent filmmaker, I think I have to work on parallel projects because
yes,
it is like whenever the protagonist has time, so we have to match it along with them.
yes.
So I am working on a few projects. I mean, it's hard to pick which ones to talk about,
But the
but there are
similar,
mostly
you
yes.
always do a project which has some purpose, or like social
It is.
message, or
I think it for me, it's I want to tell films through a very personal lens. So it
Hmm,
has to have a very human element to it.
yeah,
So as you can see, this film, the heart of it is the letter from the son to father, and then within that doorway, there's a whole universe. So
yes,
what I want to create are these many doorways. So and in the end, I believe that my films are a starting point. It is not you. It won't tell you all about Matancheri, but I hope it gets you there, and then you
yes,
can have your own pursuit of the place.
yes, yes,
So similarly, there are many other films that I focus more on the culture and human element of it. That's my area of expertise. Uh, I run a small film company. That's why. So the other
all
side is
right, yeah,
conservation,
yes,
far away.
far away,
So
yeah,
the other side is conservation. So we do a lot of conservation projects also across the country.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Naved, for your time, and it's pleasure interacting with you. And we, Auroville Film Festival, wish you very best for your uh, upcoming projects. And
Thank you so much. Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much for
much.
having me. And I'm delighted to be here, especially because Auroville sort of has semblances of Matancheri. So it sort of all fits in very well to me.
Yes, thank you so
So
much,
yeah,
Naved.
thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.